G'day and welcome to the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown. I'm Stu, that's Dyl, and we're the Fantasy Bros here to provide you with all you need to know to book your ticket in this year's Sunday Showdown finals competition with GameDay Squad. Dyl, welcome, mate. I'll tell you what, I feel much more comfortable this Sunday after taking out the Week 8 comps in the finals. So the pressure is well and truly off, but how are you feeling? Is someone still yet to qualify, and can today be the day?
Yeah, mate, welcome, Stu, everyone watching and listening as well. Look, I wish I could say I feel as comfortable as you. I am chilling up in Noosa for the long weekend. It's a lovely day, just come off the tennis courts. Big weekend of footy ahead, or a big Sunday of footy ahead. But no, I'm sweating a little bit, to be honest, and it's not just the tennis. There's not a lot of opportunities to book your ticket into that final series. So I've got a bit of work to do. I know that on the AFL side, we've got Pity that has secured his golden ticket. On the NRL side, we've got Stu. So I've got plenty of work ahead of me, but hopefully that means that you can talk through some of your strategy from last week and you can give me some advice and everyone else advice that's joining us. So we've got plenty of people in the chat as well, which we'll get to in a moment. But mate, what a weekend of footy so far. I kicked us off for me on Friday night down at Suncorp. The Finns up against the Storm. What a great game that was. It was quite weird seeing the Storm in the white jersey. It was quite hard to pick out some of the players, but the Finns came back in unreal game. And a little shout out to Tyson Brough, one of our good friends of the show, running up and down that sideline, waving his flag. He had a great game as a touchy there. So good on Tyson. And
not to be distracted whatsoever, I heard there was quite a few attempts to get some eye contact or get him to look your way, but the ever professional that he is didn't bat an eyelid. Yeah, absolutely. Got plenty in the chat joining us for a massive Sunday of footy. 3 matches this afternoon, back to back. It's going to be great, isn't it? Sif Kanga, we've got howdy. Let's get rowdy up the wires. Aren't they going well? Ganners AFL is joining us here again for a big day of league coming. Absolutely. Tracy Wall, g'day. Thanks for joining us once again. A super Sunday. That is correct. Cannot wait either. Kicking off in just under half an hour. Dyl, let's start with the Sunday roast. I'll start quickly with that emblem there in the middle, the Melbourne Storm. Uncharted territory, really. 7 straight losses, and it's got to wonder when it's going to turn around. The Sunday roast section isn't necessarily just about GameDay Squad scores, but it's about this football side. And I think we were predicting a bounce back for the last 3 or 4 matches. Now I think the discussion has to be, well, when's the next win going to come? What did you make of the Storm performance being there on Friday?
Yeah, look, to be honest, they looked really good early on. And I think that the loss of Wishart probably hurt them quite a lot. Obviously, he got over for that first try. Yeah. It looked really nice. He looked like he was controlling the ball quite well. And even after they lost him to that horrible injury, they still looked in control. It looked like they had adjusted well to the conditions. That rain constantly coming down and then stopping and then starting again would have caused a lot of havoc there. And it looked like the Finns just never able to sort of get into that rhythm of that wet weather footy, whereas Storm clicked into that quite well. And I thought that this was going to be the game that they took over, but I think to the back end they looked quite fatigued, and they're falling off some tackles, and defensively on the edges in particular. Obviously, we saw Jackie Bostock scoring a couple there. He just can jump higher than any other human, I think, on the planet. And then also Osako getting down the sideline as well. So, yeah, I think there's quite a bit of work to be done on the edges. But good to see that Lasardi was back and he had a decent game. And just hopefully they go into another level in the next few weeks and we get some decent footy from them, but also some decent GDS scores, because there's some players there that we've sort of been staples in our team for a long time, and we're starting to really fade them over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the downfall of Cam Munster as a fantasy asset has to be studied, doesn't it, mate? Just quickly, over the next couple of weeks, the Melbourne Storm are at home to the West Tigers, then the Parramatta Eels at Magic Round, the Canterbury Bulldogs and the Sydney Roosters follow that. Is there a win in those 4 matches? What's your prediction?
I'd say no, looking at that from a zoomed out view, but they bring something to Magic Round. They obviously had that tough loss last season at Magic Round to your boys, but there must be a bounce back in there somewhere. It's hard to write Melbourne off at some point throughout in the next month of footy, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
And tell us about Hammer Tabuai Fido in 1 or 2 of your GameDay Squad sides.
Yeah, and it was frustrating because I said on the show on Wednesday that it was sort of a toss-up between him and Edwards, and I was playing both of them across a couple of different teams and really hoping that he was going to have a big game. Trey Fuller was ruled out, which meant that Hammer was definitely playing fullback. You know, we assumed Trey Fuller was going to play in that centre role anyway, but yeah, it was all about the demerits. He had 1 try assist, 1 line break, 10 tackles, 170 odd running meters, 1 tackle break and 1 offload. Look, I'm not perfect at maths, but I think that's 39 GDS points. The issue was, though, he had 1 error, 1 penalty, 2 missed tackles, and then he had that 10 in the bin, which that was a dumb move from Hammer. Live, it just looked ridiculous. He looked like he had plenty of time to be able to get off. The defensive line was starting to get back to position, and he was trying to milk it for everything. He was trying to pretend he was caught up and everything else, and the end of it. So, yeah, 19 demerit points there. So I'm predicting a sub 30 from Hammer for GDS sides of things, which is disappointing. I had him in a couple of teams, prime time as well. So, yeah, I think the less we say about the Hammer moving forward, the better. Hopefully, Jill Edwards can repay the favour for my pod side.
Is there a chance maybe one of the touchies knew that you played Hammer on your side and you just wanted the ref to...
If I go and watch that replay and I see Bruffy getting the ear of the referee on field, so big balled on field, then I'll have something to say to him.
And Jado, big Jackie Bostock pod was a mental play, absolutely coming back from ACL injury in the centres, not his preferred wing outside Herbie Farnworth. Had the 1 game back in the Host Plus Cup, scored a double there. But yeah, I don't think anyone, well, you must have, Jado, if you played him, well done. Yeah. But I certainly didn't expect such a big performance by him. And just quickly for me, Siwa Wong, the Roosters, we sort of targeted this matchup the last couple of weeks, hasn't really come off, but we expected an outfit like the Roosters would take full advantage of that Ezra Mam, Xavier Willison matchup there on the right-hand side attack for the Roosters. Cherry Evans sort of sliced through there very early on in the match. The Roosters scored 30 points very quickly, and Siwa Wong wasn't involved whatsoever. So probably just about that 40-point score, which when you look through his numbers, that's probably going to be his lowest score of the entire competition. Yeah. And gee, this round we really thought was the round to play him. Back to back 60s in the last 3 weeks, 250s prior to that. And then back into the 40s, not very good. I think he featured in just about every single one of my sides and left out a couple of other blokes, Finay Filiaki, Paddy Carrigan, who both scored tries and outscored him quite comfortably. But we're just not too sure exactly on the final points yet. Hopefully, fingers crossed, all goes to plan. 8:15 a.m. tomorrow morning. We should see how those scores unravel. Mate, let's get into the Sunday Showdown competition rules. As always, 12 mil salary cap. We can play silver players right through to special cards. However, just the 1 special card limit, no prize cards allowed, and just the 1 diamond. So we'll talk about our diamond, our superstar diamond card that we might run out later on. 3 games this round. We've got the Knights taking on the Rabbitohs. Gee, what a game that is. So many names back for the Newcastle Knights, and I think we can sort of put a line through their recent form, given how many new faces there are. Let's hope they're fit and firing. I think that's going to be a great match. Plenty of points down there at Newcastle. In 20 minutes' time, we've got the Tiger Sharks, the Sharkies v the Tigers at Ocean Protect at 4:05, and then a Jamal Fogarty-less Manly Seagulls to round out the competition, to round out the round against the Penrith Panthers at 6:15. Gee, if Penrith can get on a roll, no Fogarty there, rolling that team around, I think Penrith will definitely put on a bit of a score. Mate, before we get into the players that we want to target, no big changes in the team lists. Obviously, all of those players coming back for the Knights that were named early on, you know, Kalen Ponga, Bradman Best, Greggy Marju, Fletcher Sharp back in the 6 jersey, Dill Lucas there in the back row. Gee, that's a strong side, a side that's very similar to how they ran out in round 1 and absolutely set the competition alight over there in Vegas. So they were all named, thankfully. No real changes. So teams are rolling out just about as strong as they can possibly be. What's your prediction for the game, and how do you see maybe the bench being used?
Yeah, like you said, it's probably looking back at that form of round 1 at Vegas and having a look at how the Knights played there, and probably putting a line through the last 7 weeks of football, really, and hoping that they sort of bring something back to it. The question marks for me are going to be, how well is Kalen Ponga going to play? Is he someone he's coming straight into your sides because of the smaller player pool for the Sunday Showdown? So we've got a little bit less options, but some quality there. And then same with someone like Bradman Best. Do we find a spot for him? Obviously, the Rabbitohs, I think they're sitting 4th on the ladder. They're playing some really good footy, and it's more so a really good attacking league that we're seeing from the Rabbitohs. There's plenty of options to be able to play against the Rabbitohs as well. So I think that it's going to be really interesting. The bench is for me quite I think standard. Sandon Smith is probably the question mark there. Does he come in and relieve Phoenix Crossland? Does Phoenix Crossland then move back into that lock role when he comes on? Or does Sandon Smith maybe, is he just sitting there just in case they're a bit concerned about the Fletcher Sharp, Kalen Ponga injury problems that we've had in the past? So yeah, that for me is probably the only question mark. It probably means that I'm not going to play Phoenix Crossland in my Sunday Showdown, because obviously we've got Blake Brayley a little bit later on in the day as well. But even if Brayley wasn't there, I'd probably be looking elsewhere. Just that little bit of concern that we've seen Phoenix play some 80-minute games over the last few weeks, and he's had some decent scores, all really in base. But just the question marks over how Sandon Smith's going to get used.
Yeah, absolutely spot on there. I think injury cover first and foremost, and then probably to spell one of the big boys and get Phoenix back through the middle there. Just quickly look at the Rabbitohs. Keon Koloamatangi back on the edge. He's a little bit less fantasy relevant there on the edge, but look, with you and Aitken there on the bench, I can't imagine Koloamatangi spends all match there on the edge, and maybe he spends 20 minutes there and spends a great deal of time through the middle. So maybe a bit of attacking upside on the edge to start with before some work through the middle. We know he's been hampered through injury. He hasn't been relevant at all. Is there any love in going to him as a maybe having a big game?
Yeah, because of that, probably the fourth bloke there in the 18 in Jaden Sullivan. He might potentially come in, and that might mean some bigger minutes for some of the blokes through the middle. Lockie Hubner can play on the edge. You and Aitken can play on the edge. So there's not a lot of relief for some of those big blokes like Tavita Totola and Sean Kepi. So yeah, maybe we do see Koloamatangi go back to the middle after that 20-minute mark and get some big minutes through the middle. If I knew that was definitely going to happen, I think he would be in my side straight away. But with the question marks, I think I'd rather play some solid plays than someone like Tallis Duncan and a few other of our middles that we're going to play later on that we'll talk about for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Rightio. First try scorer game is back. All you need to do, if you're sitting in the comments there at the moment, comment who you think is going to be the first try scorer in that Knights versus Rabbitohs game only. There's a couple of prizes there available for the lucky last game of the round in a Dylan Edwards Platt and an Adam Dewey Platt as well. All you need to do is be the first in the comment section to name who you think is going to score the first or potentially even second try of today's first match. If the tries are scored within the first 20 minutes, we'll honour those two cards. And the player can't be named twice. So get your guesses in throughout the show. We'll remind you a couple of times, but it's got to be a Knights or a Rabbitohs player. If you want a Dill Edwards Platt, Adam Dewey Platt, let us know. Dill, your guess doesn't count. Who would you throw out there?
I've got to go Kalen Ponga back since that injury, and we know how good he is and how electric he can be. So let's get around KP to get the first try.
There you go, righto. Points of difference. Some of the players that are very low owned that we think could have a pretty big game and separate some of the coaches that do play a bit of a risk and roll these guys out in their size. They may not be the favoured players in their position, but could certainly put up some big scores. And you're pretty keen on Cody Walker, mate. Tell us about him.
Yeah, look, at the moment, I just double-checked. He has moved up to 10% ownership, but as of last night, he was at 9%. So people are slowly coming to him. Look, I think for me, he's going to be a massive pod in that half position. We've got plenty of other halves that we can play. At the moment, there are currently 7 other halves above him that are higher percentage owned than Cody Walker. But look, one of them is Jamal Fogarty, who we did say he's been ruled out. He was ruled out in that 24-hour team update. So if you haven't made that change yet, maybe Cody Walker's the pivot option there for you. There's only 3 spots in our halves. We've got 6 games, so it is really open slather across that. Just for me, Walker looks to have one of the best matchups. And obviously, look, we're going to play Nathan Cleary. Hines is another really good option, as always, because we know that they can bring the game. But Cody Walker's one of those blokes that he's sort of the forgotten man, I think, and he's really stepped up throughout the season. The Knights are giving up 51 points to left halves through 8 rounds of footy. That includes Ethan Sanders scoring 22 in round 5. So that average really could be a lot higher if we took that out. And I think it's all going to be we know how good Latrell is. We know that matchup for Latrell in the Knights side is not too great on paper. I think that they're giving less than 30 GDS points to left centers at the moment. But I think it's hard to ignore that left side attack that they've got going on. AJ is going to be in and around the point scoring as well. We know that he loves a try, and it just means that Cody Walker is going to be involved in a lot there. And I think he's really backing himself this season to just run the ball a little bit more and then create opportunities off the back of that. So yeah, give me a little bit of Cody Walker as my third half, I think, this week. And yeah, with that 10% ownership, I think it's going to be a great pod. Yeah,
I like that shout. I think that it's going to be quite an open game this afternoon. hopefully plenty of points being scored. And whenever there's the points flowing, blokes like Cody Walker can definitely chime in for a big one. Opposite side of the ball for me, Fletcher Sharp. I think we haven't seen the best of him or the Knights in a long, long time, since round one, really. 48 GDS points in the first 26 minutes. Coming back from injury, has been pretty quiet, hasn't had the boys around him to put the big score on. I think Fletcher Sharp for me is going to be my third half. Mate, Sipatalakai, Paul Alamotti, very close there in the ownership percentages, around 12%. Paul Alamotti was absolutely massive last week, teaming up on that right-hand side against the hapless Knights with Brian To'o. Alamotti scored 86 GDS points with thanks to 12 tackle breaks, 213 run meters. And that was off the back of 220s, a couple of 40s before that, and then back to the 30s and the 20s. So hadn't really had a big game all season. We saw a lot from him last year that showed just how big his ceiling could be, mostly on the wing, but also some pretty big games there at centres. But obviously that matchup there with the Knights was hard to ignore. And I think that might be one of the reasons why I had the win there in the competition in round 8. Just looking at the stats, the numbers there, and hoping someone like Alamotti went off. Today, I think it's a Sifa-Talakai game. On the right-hand centre there, outside Nico Hines. And that's where the Tigers are a little bit depleted there on the left-hand edge. So, I think the ball's going to go a little bit more right through Nico, and Sifa-Talakai was at his damaging best. Obviously spent a lot of time coming off the bench in recent weeks. Is playing there at centre again until Ramian returns. 194 run meters, 8 tackle breaks, had only made 4 tackle breaks in 7 games prior. When he's getting the time on the field, he's breaking tackles for fun, scored 2 tries, could have passed to his winger on both occasions, but just decided to sort of run over the bloke in front of him. And that's what we love to see when we've got a player like that in our GDS sides. Mate, who do you like out of Talakai, Alamotti? Can you find a spot for either of them?
Yeah, I think I'm going to get to Talakai, and it's obviously a little bit of last week's points chasing and how good he looked last week. But you're right, that Tigers edge is just a little bit different, and we're not quite sure what that's going to throw up. And I loved watching Talakai play. Going back a couple of years ago when he was starting in the centres and he was just causing absolute havoc. I think it was against Manly Sea Eagles, that game where who was he up against? Was it Harper? I think it might have been Morgan Harper, and he just absolutely destroyed him. And I think Harper got the hook at about 20 minutes into the game because of what Talakai was doing. So if we can see a replication of that, we'll be absolutely cheering. But I think that's the important thing. You touch on your ability last week to book yourself a ticket to that final spot is because you did look for some variety. You did look for that point of difference in someone like Alamotti and even Brian To'o as well, considering that someone like Jenkins was playing really well, and we were all getting around Jenkins, and then it was Brian To'o that had that big game. So it's not just about looking for blokes that are played by a lot and owned by a lot of coaches, but it's about finding that point of difference and backing yourself with the stats or with the matchup that you think is going to occur. And there's obviously a bit of strategy there as well. Is it that you go the double up of the point of difference? Do you throw in a Platinum Talakai? Not only is it a point of difference, but then it's a salary point of difference as well. And, you might miss it, but if you hit big on a big point of difference with some salary, it might be the difference between second and third and first place for your golden ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if I didn't have a ticket already, I probably wouldn't take that much of a risk. Bit of safety stew over here, but that's a great play for anyone wanting to get a little bit spicy this afternoon. Alrighty, let's get through some first try scorer predictions. Tracy in there first with AJ. I love that pick. Tony's gone your boy there in Kalen Ponga. Jado, I like this shout here in Tallis Duncan. We've seen him run some excellent lines. And Dill Lucas hasn't had many attacking stats so far this season, but with that Knights team returning to full strength, I think he's every chance to find the try line as well. Right, mate, let's get into the salary pod, some high percentage played players. So if we load up some salary on them, this is where we could get a little bit different to other coaches that are just going to roll them out anyway. Dyl Edwards, big score again last week. He's been a bit up and down. You going back to him in a big way this week?
Yeah, and I think there's 2 aspects to it. One is obviously he's an elite fullback, and he rewarded coaches last week with 3 tries in about 20 minutes or so in that first half. But a genuine hat trick, which we don't really see too often in the NRL. But I think it's also the wider aspect of the lead up to Origin and how well James Tedesco's playing. I think Dylan Edwards will want to remind, though, and I said this on Wednesday, he'll want to remind the New South Wales selectors that, look, I'm the fullback, I've been the fullback, and I can get the job done. Just because James has stepped up and had a couple of big games, I can also do the same. He is currently owned by 77% of teams across the competition. I find this interesting. As of when I was looking this morning, 77% owned Edwards, only 56% owned Latrell, which is quite interesting. I thought Latrell Mitchell would be higher, but obviously people are really keen to back that Panthers matchup. The matchup itself with the Sea Eagles, they're only giving up an average of 45 GDS points to fullbacks, but with the changes to their side, that could really be blown out of the water. They did allow Hammer 66 earlier in the season as well. So that's their big one that they've let so far. Edwards could get to that quite easily. We know he can do it in base and power. We know that he can do it with some try assists as well. He loves sweeping around the back of plays and looking for that last pass. And then he can do it himself and get over the line. So, yeah, I'm backing him for a big one, not necessarily just because of the stats, but because of that wider aspect of that New South Wales fullback gig.
Yeah, don't mind that at all. Manly also pretty down and bad there with no Jamal Fogarty, the rookie half. And Joey Walsh has been given a big task there away from home, having to partner Lukey Brooks there in the half.
Very exciting, though.
A massive score.
I can't wait to see Joey Walsh run out and see what we get from him. We've obviously talked a lot about him in the preseason, and we couldn't wait to see him. So, yeah, hopefully wheels up for him and he gets a good nudge, and we can see him plenty more times in the future.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Alex 12 for me is the salary pod for me. I think most coaches will play him. Back to 80 minutes last round. A try assist as well to big Royce Hunt. Gee, that was pretty to watch. 87 GDS points there against the Raiders. And look, Benji has just put so much trust, so much faith in him back to the 80 minutes after some 70s back-to-back. But I think he's a guy that's going to lock you in about 70 GDS points. And with the ability to throw an offload, to find a line break assist, and then even a try assist, his ceilings are just about as big as any other forward there on the park.
Yeah, and you have a look at the Stats Lab, and that's where we're getting a lot of our stats at the moment. So big shout out to Stats Lab and everything they're doing at the moment. Just having a look at his points per minute. Look, its PPM is sitting at around 1. It's 0.92 on average, but he's only really had 2 games that it's got significantly below 1. And that was last 2 weeks ago against the Broncos. Only scored 48 points in 71 minutes, but he had no attacking stats. We've seen a lot of attacking stats from him over the last couple of weeks before that, and plenty of tackle breaks as well, which is something we don't necessarily associate with Alex Twell or haven't in the past. So, yeah, if he continues that form that he's in, I think it's easy money to get a lot of salary on Alex Twell. And then Blake Brayley. For me, this is purely just based on the percentage numbers, nothing to do with the matchup, because he's got the hardest matchup of any hooker in the competition this weekend. But we know Blake Brayley's better than that anyway. But it's purely just that percentage, 67, 68%. Owned by everyone playing the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown. The next best is Phoenix Crossland at 23, and then everyone outside of that is 4%. So it's just purely that based on those numbers, get as much salary on that. And if you have a platinum and the next player has a silver, you've got an extra 20% over them on whatever he scores. So I think it's just a smart play, getting as much salary on Brayley as possible. Excuse me.
Yeah, Tigers with a few players out, particularly Buller, KPP. I think they want to go down the middle with their forwards, and that just means plenty of tackle numbers there for Blake Brayley. I think we might see a tackle number with 5 in the front for him this afternoon. Gunners AFL in with the Trell Mitt first try. 5 guesses in already, and Trell Mitt finally off the board. Remember to get your guesses in for who you think is going to be the first try scorer in that night's Rabbitohs game. You can win yourself couple of pretty handy cards in a Dyl Edwards and an Adam Dewey Platt if you are correct. So a little bit of fun for the first sort of 15, 20 minutes of that match. Mate, we'll get back to our Sunday Superstars shortly. Let's go through our round 9 Sunday Showdown consensus starting 13. Should anyone out there be a bit unsure about who they're going to start between 2 players, and maybe they want to copy us or maybe they want to go against us, we'll run through that quickly. And then we'll have a chat about some of these players that we haven't spoken about yet. Terrell May, Alex Twal, Isaiah Yeo, pretty popular front 3 there, I would imagine, alongside Blake Brayley. We've got Tallis Duncan, Haumole Olakuatu on the edge. Some base getting high try-scoring upside players. Nathan Cleary, Nico Hines, no surprises there in the halves. Adam Dewey, Toltau Kula, 2 out-of-position centres. Dewey obviously playing in the halves, Cooler at fullback there for Manly, despite the tough matchup with Penrith. Another out-of-position player there, Senia Taruva, will be playing in the fullback position for the Tigers at 4:05 p.m. You can play him as a winger. We're playing him alongside Brian To'o.
Yeah.
And then Dill Edwards there. Mate, not a lot about Cooler or Taruva at this point. Any comments about them before we get into our Sunday superstars?
I think we talked about both players a little bit on the Wednesday night. And for me, I think I'm actually moving away from Tolakula now with Fogarty out as well. I can't quite get there.
Yeah.
We obviously talked about the impact that Luke Brooks had on Tolakula and his inability to allow Tolakula to get points. I think that's the concern for me. I'm not sure how they're going to gel with Joey Walsh there. So I think that the Talakai option might be the one for me, bringing Talakai into that position. And I guess he's playing out of position in terms of he's usually playing on the edge when he comes off the bench most times, or through the middle, but he's playing in centre and he's playing quite well. So for me, I think it's Talakai. Taruva, I'm still keen on, but those numbers that you talked about on the Wednesday night show of him playing fullback, they're quite low, and it does have a little bit of concern behind that. Plus, as you said, the other changes that they've got going on at the Tigers. I'm still going to play him. I can't see myself going to the Jenkins To'o double purely because of how well the matchup for To'o looks in comparison to Jenkins. I think for me, I'm all over To'o. So I think it's just purely based on the options available, the out of position in Taruva. I think there's some upside there. But in saying that, yeah, the opposite, I guess, for Tolakula.
Yeah. Look, Brian To'o on the right-hand side there, a very good matchup there. The Manly Sea Eagles giving up the most points to right wingers. So I think To'o there over Jenkins might be the play. But the fact that Jenkins went low last week and To'o went big probably means some coaches will just naturally shift. It would have been good if those numbers did flip around and Jenkins had that same sort of 60-point matchup and people sort of flock to To'o and maybe look at the numbers. Jenkins might be the play. But look, now, if you're chasing last week's score and looking at those stats, I don't think you can go wrong. Brian To'o looks like a really good play there at the winger. Yeah, I don't know about Taruva myself. His numbers are actually pretty poor. He needs Dewey feeding him on that wing, strolling over for some tries to be fantasy relevant. I just don't know if it's going to happen with the depleted team there against the Sharkies team that could roll over them. Sunday Superstar, mate, the player that we're putting our faith in to get the job done. We're allowed one diamond card all afternoon. We got 3 matches and we're both going for a player from the middle game. Is that Taylor or is it Terrell May? I can't work out based on the graphic. I think it's Terrell May, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Terrell. Look, interestingly, we haven't gone Cleary. I think Cleary's an easy option to say. Put all your money on Nathan Cleary. And obviously that helped you last week, as you said. You put all your salary on Nathan Cleary and he rewarded in a big way with, I think it was 97 GDS points at the end of that game. But I think for me, Terrell May is going to be one of those just absolutely point per minute beasts. And he's got plenty of attacking upside as well. Last season in this corresponding game, he played all 80 or 84 minutes because it went into additional time. But in 84 minutes, he scored 93 GDS points against them. He finished with 230 running meters, 42 tackles, 3 tackle breaks. That's a 74-point base and power. He had 8 offloads on top of that as well. So there's something about this particular matchup, maybe the Tiger Sharks Cup that potentially he loves to have a big game, and surely he steps up for another big performance. He'll probably keep that 60-minute role. I don't really see that changing too much. He's sort of been hovering around that 60 minutes. It'd be great if we can get a little bit more from him, but I still think you're going to get plus 60 in that. And so it's a nice, easy way to just, you're going to get the 60 plus performance. There's some upside there in terms of attack. So I think you can bank on that and get a nice multiplier of 1.4 with that 60 to 70 points and be happy with that. Whereas some of the other options, maybe there's a little bit of fluctuation. There's a little bit of inconsistency that maybe we're a little bit worried about.
Yeah, love that shout. I think he's every chance of scoring a try as well. I think, as I said, the Tigers are going to run the ball through the middle quite frequently. The Sharkies middle has been poor at times. And I think if there's any chance here, it's going to be Terrell May, Alex Twal rolling their sleeves up and getting the job done for them. 60-plus minutes on the park for Terrell May is definitely going to bode well for him. I've gone Nicho Hynes, not necessarily because of the matchup or what the stats are telling us. It's just about the injuries. on the opposite side of the park there. And I think KPP and even Dream Buller are massive there for the West Tigers. You got Taruva, a normal winger, in having to go back into that unfamiliar fullback role. And there's a lot of talk that Buller does, a lot of organising the boys in front of him that might go unnoticed a little bit here. And Taruva may not, have the same sort of ability to do so. Also KPP really damaging there with the ball, but also with some pretty big hits there. So Tony Suka, our forgotten man, is named to line up there. We haven't got any team change announcements, I don't think, and we'll have to wait another half an hour for their final 90-minute team list. But I think the Sharkies are going to be licking their lips in terms of that edge of the field.
Yeah.
So only 46 points sort of to right halves there that the Tigers are giving up. But look, they've been pretty good lately. I think that a few changes there to their spine and their outside edge players. I think that's where the Sharkies are going to attack. And with Sifa Talakai there, Hines only needs to give him early ball. It could be a couple of easy try assists. Hines also hasn't scored since round one. Scored a double there, hasn't found the try line there. I think he's due for a bit of a meat pie as well. So, yeah, I think Nico Hines in for a big one. Izzy, mate, just seeing your prediction there of AJ. AJ was mentioned a little bit earlier on by another coach. Who have we got up there, Dyl, that mentioned AJ? I think it was Tracy Wall. Yes. So, Izzy, give you a chance to get another guess in there. Just have a bit of a scroll up. Look at the other players mentioned. We've got AJ Ponga, Tallis Duncan, Dill Lucas, Latrell Mitchell. Guardy's come in here with Campbell Graham. They're on the right edge, right wing. Love that shout as well. So, fantasy stats, you two, mate. Rinse and repeat there. Go on, AJ as well. A very popular player, Tracy Wall, got that guess in about 20 minutes ago. So,
only one player each. One player each. Choose a different player. Let's get someone else. Obviously, the game's kicked off and the Knights had a nice early set, got the ball deep into the Rabbitohs half, and they're obviously working their way. Look, just touching on the change from for Taruva, moving from the centres to the fullback. We actually saw that in that game on Friday night where Hammer was sent off for 10 minutes and Herbie Farmworth went back to fullback defensively and did a lot of organising from the back. And mate, wouldn't that be a sight to see if GDS, our position, we could get Herbie Farmworth playing fullback for the Finns and we get him to play in the centre role, and just how damaging he would be in that fullback position.
Oh, absolutely. And welcome back to NRL, Kalen Ponga, Jackie Whiten, giving him a nice little welcome back tackle there. Beautiful defence there from the Rabbitohs. Gee, Herbie Farmworth. Imagine him being in the halves or, fullback, roaming both sides of the field. Alrighty, bit of footy to get the afternoon rolling, KP, with some nice early ball to the right edge there. How are our streams lining up, Dyl? Let us know.
Yeah, I'm just slightly behind you, but that's all right.
You can... Trollmet gets gags to the ground.
Yeah, pretty much just almost identical, so it's perfect. It's good. Hopefully everyone else can align theirs as close as possible.
Oh, no.
KP with the big kick, so out on the full. Close.
The early error.
Yeah, I'm about 30 seconds behind you, so hopefully we can align our streams a little bit. But not a good start from KP. He had a good first touch down that right side after getting absolutely mothered in the tackle from JP Whiten, but unfortunately just an unforced error. No pressure on him at all. We don't really see pressure on kickers anymore anyway, but just out on the full. So the Rabbitohs in a nice attacking set early on. You see they're working it to the right early, looking to set up left. Let's get Cody Walker out on the left in an attacking position.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the stream for a couple of seconds. Just give you a chance to see that Cody Walker penalty, I think.
I've just seen that Cody Walker penalty, so we're aligned perfectly. Fantasy stats, mate, you've still got an AJ, so you've got some time before the first try is scored. Make sure you change that one there from AJ. Only one coach can select one player, so he's already been taken. Tracy Wall got in nice and early with the Alex Johnson shout for first try. So anyone still listening, make sure, if you haven't yet already, jump in. First try scorer, we've got a Dill Edwards-Platt for the first try scorer that you guess. If you guess the first try scorer, he doesn't score, but he scores the second one. We've got an Adam Dewey-Platt as well. So both highly owned and some decent options to put some salary on for sure. I've done that in both for both players. My team has both of those plats in there at the moment. Is there anyone in particular from this game, Stu, that you really want to see have a big game for your team that we haven't really talked about yet from the Knights or the Rabbitohs?
I only mentioned it briefly. Fletcher Sharp, got him as an all-star in the under-24 comp. I've played him in this comp as well. His scores have been pretty underwhelming in the recent few weeks as Dom Young throws a ball back inside just over Kalen Ponga's head.
Sorry, we've got
could have had here. KP in there for first try scorer, but the Knights will get the ball back. Yeah, it looks Fletcher Sharp for me. Underwhelming. Had a massive season last season, top 5 in the halves. As a winger, he's a bit of a cheat code back into the halves. So we haven't really wanted to play him too frequently in our sides. The Knights haven't been good. He hasn't been good either. But they've got their full strength team back. I think there's going to be plenty of points here. And he's going to be underplayed as well. I think 17% we saw earlier. Obviously going to be higher in the under-24s, but plenty of salary on him there as well as this game. So fingers crossed he can link up nicely with Dyl Lucas.
Nice short ball to Lucas there. Some good defence, though, from the Rabbitohs. So hopefully they look to go at the back and then try and suck them in so that we can see Dyl Lucas getting through us. Kalen Ponga breaks about 6 tackles in one movement, so that should be plenty of points there for him. Yeah, I think for me, the big one for me is definitely KP. I've got him in my side. It's hard not to leave him out of the side, and I didn't play him in any of my... Oh, is that Trey Mooney that's got over there? Or is that
Trey Mooney?
Big boy Trey Mooney just powering his way over the line and just...
Can score a try, can't he?
He can indeed. Wowee. Let's have a look at Trey Mooney's ownership as we watch the replay. Maybe you talk through that for us while I check that out.
Yeah, he had plenty of work to do. Some pretty solid contact about 4 meters out from the line there, but just wanted it more, that leg drive. You got absolute tree trunks for legs. Just kept driving and just got his way to the line there. Murray came in late, but still couldn't even stop him. So 3 Rabbitohs couldn't keep him from finding the line and just finds the white stripe. What's his percentage played? Because he would have been pretty high in the last couple of weeks, but with so many good forward options, he wasn't even in consideration for me this week.
He's 12% owned in the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown, but 50% over on the under-24s, where I think maybe that's where a lot of people have diversified and said, look, I've got a piece of Trey Mooney in the under-24s, so I'm not going to play him in the Sunday Showdown, which exactly was my thinking. I did exactly that. I put plenty of salary on him in the under-24s and kept him out of the Fantasy Bros. So I'm more than happy with that. It just means that I still get plenty of points in that under-24 side. And look, we've talked about before, XRP has been on the show a couple of times. He booked his ticket to the finals, and that was the week that Adamaho scored 97, and he didn't have any of them as well. So it doesn't mean you're out of it if you don't have a player that scores early or has a big game. You're definitely not out of the running at all. It's just about the combination and the salary as well on top of the players. So you can miss a big score and still have a decent finish to the round. The other thing to point out is that there's plenty of opportunity for you to win that ticket, because you might not even have to come first. If you come first again today, you've already booked your ticket. So it's that second place coach that might make their way to that final series. So there's still plenty of opportunity for people to have a big game and to score well, irrespective of whether they own Trey Mooney or any of the other big scorers.
Yeah, spot on. Look, if Trey Mooney scores 97 points, though, like Adamaho, I'll gladly give up my Sunday Showdown ticket to someone in the chat. I do not see that happening.
I would take a golden ticket right now. So if you are giving it up, I'm more than happy to take that. So I'm going to back Trey Mooney for a 97 plus. So good on fantasy stats. He's gone with best. So I'm assuming he's looking now at the second try scorer. He's gone with best as the second try scorer. So good luck to fantasy stats as well as everyone else.
Let's see if we can get any of those players mentioned across in the next sort of 12 minutes. More than happy to give those cards away.
Definitely. Unfortunately as well, one thing that we can't do at the moment is comment on where those GDS live scores are at. Obviously the boys over at GDS sent an email the other day and put up something on Discord around the couple of changes that are happening on the stats side of things. So at the moment, they've just taken off the live scoring updates that are happening, and as well as the end of game or each day updates to your team. So we can sort of have a guess of where some scores are based on some of the stats that we can see and some quick math calculations. But unfortunately, we're not going to be too exact on where they're at the moment. So we just have to watch and enjoy as Jackie Whiten makes an error as they were coming out of their half, which means the Knights again are in some decent attacking position. Scrum being packed about 45 out from the Rabbitohs line. So let's see if we can see a combination between Fletcher Sharp and KP potentially through the middle on the edge here and get some decent points for both of those players.
I can tell you that Kalen Ponga has been credited with 2 tackle breaks, Trey Mooney with 3, and a line break for that try that he scored.
For those that
already 38 meters for Trey Mooney.
For those that aren't sure, the tackle break, the big one for me, 3 points per tackle break. So they sort of negate any kind of missed tackles because missed tackles are also a -3. So I like to see a positive ratio of tackle breaks to missed tackles there. So good to see Trey Mooney with the 3 tackle breaks. Line breaks are 4 as well. So 4 GDS points for a line break. So you can sort of do your own calculations as well as you're going along. I know good friend Skip loves to do his calculations. He's probably got a spreadsheet happening right now.
Oh, there it is. Exactly to script.
Unreal. So, Stu, you called it early, mate. So once again, I'll let you commentate this because you did call it about 3 minutes ago that this was going to happen. So talk us through this Dyl Lucas try on the left side once they show a replay.
It's just a new look side, this Newcastle Knights team with KP throwing question marks out the back all the time. Nice little ball from Crossland. Dill Brown on the left as well as Sharp. And it's just extra numbers. I think Whiten wanted to know what Ponga was doing out the back there and forgot about the lead runner there in Dyl Lucas. And there's plenty of space there. No one's close to touching him. And it's just a new look Knights side that just know what they want to do. Both halves linking up there on the left, Ponga out the back. That's such a threatening edge of the field. And Sharp's made the right decision there.
And for anyone, I know, we probably don't have too many younger viewers, but if you are an up-and-coming footy player, you just have a look at how Dill Brown engaged the line there. Ball out in front, looking at the player that he's running at, trying to engage that defender. That makes such a difference. You make eye contact with that defender and having that ball out in front, it just causes absolute havoc as it did there. And there's something to be said about halves combining on one side of the field. We see it so often, and it's great to see Dyl Lucas being rewarded, as you pointed out, and as Sif Kanga pointed out in the chat that he had the first try scorer on him. So congratulations, Sif Kanga. Make sure you hit us up in the DMs. I think, what have you got, an Adam Dewey plat for the second try scorer. That's unreal. As we see KP kicking goals as well. So that's two goals to KP, which is great to see him back. So he's going up in 3s at the moment on top of those tackle breaks. So there's at least 6 points in goals, a couple of points in tackle breaks as well.
Did you find a spot for KP in any of your full round teams?
No, I didn't. And I knew that I was going to play him in my Sunday Showdown. So that was going to be enough, that I was happy to just have a look at how he was playing coming back from that injury and was happy just to put him into that Sunday Showdown team where, look, there's still plenty on the line, but I'm really working hard to get back into that top 20, top 15 in Challenger and Champion. And I just had some question marks over how well he would play coming back from that injury and being out for 7 odd weeks. So I just wanted to see how he went this week. And like I said on the Wednesday show, I'm looking forward to playing him next week when he's got the matchup against the Tigers, who allow plenty of points to fullbacks.
Yeah, nice. And we said the same with Reece Walsh, although different injuries, obviously the soft tissue for Kalen Ponga, always a little bit more concerning there. Reece Walsh got through his 80 minutes. Broncos sort of got beaten for a good 60, 65 minutes of that match, but he still scored, about 60-odd GDS points. So anyone that played him in their round team will be hoping that Dill Edwards, maybe they didn't go him, so we're hoping either Edwards or Trell Mitt don't put in a big score. We haven't seen too much of Latrell Mitchell just yet, so the Knights are keeping him and the Rabbitohs fairly quiet. But we've seen in the competition all year that even last night with the Broncos Roosters, a team can get out 18 in front at halftime, 24, even 30 points, and it's never really game over with the way the 2026 season is going and how quickly the tide can change in terms of a bit of momentum. 6 against penalties as AJ cops a little bit of a knock there. Just in the tackle, I think got bent a little bit.
And we saw the same thing in the Warriors-Eels game, where the Warriors looked quite comfortable for the majority of that match. And then the Eels started to come back. And I think it's a result of the speed at which the game is being played with those 6 agains, and a little less penalties means less recovery, less rest time. And it just means some teams are sort of maybe taking a little back seat through the middle or the second period of the game, where they've gone hard early and they've got over for a few tries, and then they sort of just take their foot off the pedal a little bit, maybe to have that recovery and that rest that they need. And they don't mind maybe allowing a try and having that rest behind the posts one or two times. But yeah, it was great to see the Warriors. Something that we haven't seen for the last few years is that resilience from the Warriors, and it was great to see that they were able to be resilient and come back. We've seen that a few times already this season. So yeah, really excited about how the Warriors are going, as we see KP eating up the meters there from the long kick. Nice and early points from him, which is great to see.
So I look to see if I played Dill Lucas in any of my round-long teams, and unfortunately, it's a big no.
Yeah, and as you said on the Wednesday show, we had 13 genuine options that were scoring between 50 and 60, or averaging 50 and 60 GDS points for our edge forwards, and then we also had the opportunity to play 3 or 4 edge forwards in our sides. If we're going to play a couple of middles as well, then it sort of reduced the opportunity. And we saw, just based on what you were saying with Sia Wong, that we put a line through him, that could have been a much better score if we played the Dill Lucas. We had concerns over him coming back from injury as well, and what the Knights team would look like, but they looked to be on fire early, and they looked to, like we said, have that form from Vegas, and they've just really turned it up so far. At home, it's probably a big difference as well, playing in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, spot on. Quick look at the NRL.com fantasy stats. I know GameDay Squad use a similar scoring platform, and while we've got no stats, they obviously provide a bit of a guide. Trey Mooney, already over 30 fantasy points, thanks to his early try, line break, and a handful of tackle breaks as Trelmit's suspect ball to AJ isn't called. A little kick through there from Cam Murray is cleaned up by Greggy Marju. So a little bit of promise there from the Rabbitohs going left with AJ in a little bit of space, but the Knights doing well to even this little shift here if Dom Young can get through that tackle.
Latrell Mitchell missed tackle there, so that's -3 for Latrell Mitchell.
Maybe that 30-point statistic was something we should have paid a bit closer attention to. Wouldn't that be funny?
If anyone faded Latrell Mitchell in the Sunday Showdown, I think that takes some guts to do that after what we've seen from him in the first 8 rounds of the competition and the way he's been playing. But it just, if they followed those stats, and they if you have, hit us up, let us know if you faded Latrell Mitchell, because I'd love to follow. Great movement there, Fletcher Sharp.
This is good footy.
Oh no. We see a nice short side raid down the left there for the Knights, and was that Greggy Marju breaking a tackle and an offload back inside to Fletcher Sharp, and unfortunately the covering tackle on Sharp meant he lost possession of the ball. Had hardly any space to work with. One tackle break, maybe an offload, maybe a second tackle break from Greg Marju.
Fletcher Sharp already back amongst the fantasy points with a couple of troops around him. He'd gone missing the past month or so of footy on his return from injury. Trelmit also was coming over there to make the tackle. That's the sort of effort you want to see from a bloke like him. Often, maligned for his ability to sort of put himself in those difficult spots and roll the sleeves up and work for his side. But coming over from the far left centre, exactly what you want to see from him. Obviously, a great tackle there by Dufty. But nice to see Trelmit in the picture there. Fletcher Sharp, I think, giving away the penalty there for inside the 10. So not only did he look pretty good early on, but an error and then a penalty.
Poor error there from
poor decision there from
Bronson Garlick here as well. Sorry to cut you off there, Stu, but just very poor error, getting caught up with the foot of the player playing the ball and just completely bottling that. horrible error in an attacking position from the Rabbitohs just means ball goes straight back to the Knights and they're on attack again. And as the screen pops up, 69% possession for the Knights versus 31% for the Rabbitohs. I don't think they've had that all season so far, the Rabbitohs. So might need a little spell here, get Wayne Bennett back onto them, get them in the sheds and give them a bit of a spray to get them back in this game, because we've got plenty of options here from our game day squad teams that we need to go well, including Trelmet and a few others. Cody Walker so far hasn't really been seen. He had that nice long ball down the left that had that left side raid earlier, but haven't really seen too much of him outside of that because of the lack of attack from the Rabbitohs.
Let's see if I can find some fantasy scores for those blokes. Looks like 9 for Latrell Mitchell, 1 for Cody Walker. Keon 9, Tallis Duncan 9, Cam Murray 10. It's just Cody Walker at the moment.
Disappointing at the moment.
Struggling. Nothing's really happening.
We haven't seen any attack yet.
Yeah.
KP puts a nice little grubber through. It is cleaned up. Is that Cam Murray through the middle there, getting back and diving down on the ball, as we've seen him do plenty of times. But good to see KP happy to get the ball in his hands as first or second receiver as well. It means he wants to get in and around that ball and get into the attack. So great to see that, as the Rabbitohs are trying to get off their line, but the Knights are muscling them up and give away a penalty. Not square at marker. And I'd say that's Trey Mooney. That's not square at marker. So a couple of negatives there. As it's almost about to hit 20 minutes. So we're going to wrap up in a moment. But firstly, big shout out to Sif Kanga, picking up on the Dill Lucas first try, second try. So well done, Sif Kanga. Definitely a card that he needed. So great to see that. As we see Jackie White, was that Jackie White in there being held up by the trainer?
Yeah.
Looking a bit groggy. Yep. Oh, no, it looks like it's got a... Sorry, shoulder. Is that an arm or shoulder there? And as the Rabbitohs, once again, Tavita Totola with the drop ball, that's Jackie White on stay done.
Yeah.
That could be a bit more disaster. The left side already looked, the left side attack of the Knights already looked quite dominant on that right side defensive Rabbitohs side, and they're now going to have a bit of a shake-up. Probably suggests Lockie Hubner goes into that centre role, and it probably means that Keon gets more minutes. Because of that, Jaden Sullivan maybe goes into the centre role.
Could see Ewan Aitken come on. Tallis Duncan has moved into the centre before. I'd hate for that to happen.
Would hate that, yeah. Yep, definitely. So we have to keep an update on that. Have to keep an eye on, see what has happened there, and with that reshuffle as the Knights go
straight
on
away,
to the
it's
attack.
Tallis Duncan. You're kidding. Not good. And Aitken is on that. Right edge, so not what you want to see for Tallis Duncan owners. I think he's played in quite a few of my sides for the round. That's the issue with these edge back. We've said it on the Wednesday night show plenty of times. When an injury happens, plenty of space here for the Knights in KP. I think he got away from Latrell. Little flick ball there to Dane Gagai. We might see what happens in the rest of this set. But I'm disappointed. I'm annoyed, frustrated with that Tallis Duncan news.
Yeah, look, the one upside, I guess, that it still doesn't mean he could have a big game for sure. And there's still plenty of attacking options from a centre as we see the Knights go left again. They've got some open space. Bradman Best with a flick pass and nice and easy for Greggy Marju, trying to increase the angle, improve the position. Does a forward roll, somersault, half pivot, and nice and easy Greg Marju. So obviously already nice and early, the Knights go left, have some space, go right, open up the space even more, and then that left side just could not communicate and could not get across in time. As we watch the replay, nice long ball from KP through the middle, Phoenix Crossland, a flick pass out the back, which sort of slows everything down. Ball on deck doesn't help either. Dill Brown draws in a couple of players. Bradman Best breaks one, breaks two, an offload, little flick pass, as we've seen Bradman Best do plenty of times, and Greg Marju takes care of the rest. Even Dill Lucas there held the ball out in front, dummy pass to engage the defender, and then that last-minute offload or last-minute pass to get the ball away. It sort of created that space again because he turned Campbell Graham in on that attacker. Sorry.
Yeah, outstanding start there for the Knights, and KP lines up his third attempt. And we might call it air. AJ still in a little bit of discomfort there, which isn't great for the left-hand side of the Bunnies. Obviously, Cody Latrell rely on Alex's speed to turn a half chance into something a little bit more. And even when he gets through and they back up on his inside, they get plenty of fantasy points that way. So, yeah, definitely not happening for the Rabbitohs. And I think, unfortunately, I've got a few extra Rabbitohs in my side than Knights. So it's not going to plan at the moment as KP goes 3 from 3. Alrighty, 18-0. Let's see if us ending the stream can turn things around for the Rabbitohs. Thanks again for joining us. Everybody, well done. Sif Kanga, put something up, put a bronze up for that Adam Dewey card, and let Dyl or I know who you've put up so we can get that through to you before that match kicks off at 4:05. Thanks for joining us once again. Good luck for your Sunday showdowns. Can't wait to see the leaderboard at about 8:15 tomorrow morning and see who's joining me in that finals competition. Good luck, Dyl. Fingers crossed. It is you.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you.
Catch you
Cheers,
next
guys.
week.
Have a good weekend.